What's going on, guys? This is Aaron from Departures Capital, and we're here with Ramon Barua, CEO and Director of Aclara Resources. It's a pleasure to have you back on today. Ramon, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Aaron. Thank you very much for inviting me again. Great to see you.
Yes, so, let's talk about the company. It's been a little while since we last spoke. What's been going on? What's new with the company?
Look, there are a few things that I would like to tell you. No, starting by our new discovery in Brazil, I think that completely changes, the structure, the strategy of the company. Having two deposits now in two different countries, obviously in Chile and now in Brazil, gives us a lot of flexibility going forward. The discovery in Brazil is quite impressive. I'm eager to tell you more about it in this interview. And in parallel to that, in Chile, we built our pilot plant and have been operating that for a few months now. And that is also an important development because I believe it de-risks considerably the process that we have designed in order to extract rare earths in the most environmental possible way. No, the pilot plant not only has demonstrated that our process is feasible from an economic and a technical standpoint, it has also allowed us to produce commercial samples that have been already, they have been sent to separating facilities in 15 different places in the world. That's quite significant progress. And it has also served us as I like to call it as a showroom, for the community and all local stakeholders to come visit and see firsthand the environmental qualities of the process that we have designed. And finally, important to mention is that we are ready to submit again our environmental permit in Chile. We're ready to do that in the first quarter of next year. So significant progress, on the technical front in Chile and now in Brazil.
Well, that's wonderful. So as you mentioned, the company recently announced the discovery of a new heavy rare earth deposit hosted in ion-absorbing clays in Brazil. Can you tell us more about this? Why is it so significant? I know it's the big news.
Sure. Look, the first point is that this discovery has occurred in, let's compare it in terms of surface to Penco. Penco is our project in Chile, no? And this mineralization is happening in an area of 1,400 hectares, while in Penco is only 140 hectares, no? So superficially it's already like 10 times bigger. In Brazil, we have discovered this using a very simple and very cheap method of exploration. It's called auger drilling. It's very simple, but the counterpart of that is that you can only access the very top of the deposit. No? So we have only scratched the surface, but we have already found significant ionic clays, which, as you know, are our main competitive advantage. Second, a very important presence of heavy rare earths, which, as you know, are really the more crucial rare earths looking into the electric transition. And it's in the state of Goiás, which is a state that is very friendly to investing, especially mining investment. And there's also an ionic clay deposit there that existed prior to us arriving there, that has gotten all the permits in a pretty friendly, quickly way. So the fact that there's already precedent in the region, I believe it will help us materially in order to progress our project in the state of Goiás.
So how does the company plan to create shareholder value as we move into 2024?
Look, I think we have a super pipeline of news coming up. In Brazil, we have only announced the results of the drilling so far, but there is a next step, which is announcing a resource. We're already working on that front. After the resource, we're going to produce an economic assessment. It will be a PEA. We will prepare it, under the very high standards of the Canadian market. So it will be a 43101 standard document. And also in Brazil, we're also going to be piloting the clays. Remember, I mentioned that we have a pilot plant in Chile. We're going to be shipping the clays from Brazil into Chile. And what that will allow us is to have commercial samples that we can also send to these separation facilities throughout the world. That gives us a very strong edge vis-a-vis our competitors, or more than competitors, I would say other rare earth projects, because we are going to be having commercial discussions much earlier than others, no? In Chile, as I mentioned also, we're going to be filing our environmental permit very early in 2024. And that during the year will also will allow us to provide updates to the market as of how we're doing, how that is evolving. Finally, I think that on the commercial front, these conversations, especially after having sent the samples, are starting to heat up. They're gaining momentum as EV demand continues to increase. That has started to put pressure in a lot of automakers really throughout the world. We're seeing that in Asia, in Japan. Of course, news coming out of China are also very promising, and the US and Europe are catching up quickly. So that demand pressure is creating momentum for demand for critical minerals, amongst them dysprosium, terbium, and other rare earths.
Definitely. So heavy rare earths could be considered, more niche than, let's say, lithium. We've seen a ton of lithium companies. How does Aclara compare to their competition, and what sets the company apart truly?
Sure. Look, as a reference point, if you can find it on the internet, the Department of Energy in the US published a research in May of this year, and they have identified dysprosium, which is a heavy rare earth, as the single most critical element, that we need to find for the energy transition that we're going to be facing. So yeah, clearly very important. What sets us apart, I would say first, the deposit that we have, these ionic clays or ion absorption clays, we can call them either way, have three very distinctive characteristics. The first is that the metallurgy is extremely simple. You combine the clays with water and ammonium sulfate, which is a common fertilizer, and you extract the rare earths already. Second, it contains the heavy rare earths like dysprosium that I was mentioning, which are the most valuable ones. And third, our process is completely free of radioactivity. I would say that's a starting point. And the second thing that sets us apart is that we have been able to innovate and develop a process that I believe is totally unique in the world. Why is that? First, we do not use explosives. Second, we do not use any crushing or milling. We don't have those two stages, which are the stages that generate most of the CO2 footprint in the mining industry. So really, our project has a very low CO2 footprint. And then we move into the plant. In the plant, we have created a circuit that is based on circular economy. So we're using 100% recycled water, and we're able to recycle the water also within the system with an efficiency of 95%. So we reuse all the water that enters the process, and that allows us to have zero liquid residue. This fertilizer that we're using as reagent, we're also able to recirculate it with an efficiency of 99%. And then we produce a rare earth concentrate, and the spent clays are, given that we didn't crush them, we didn't change their physical properties, we're able to take them back to the place where we took them, and we're going to be growing a native forest. We are committing to plant more than 200,000 trees of native species in the area where we originally surface mined the clays. So I think that is totally revolutionary. And that sets us apart from other rare earth projects in the world, no doubt about that.
For sure. So, will the company now move two rare earth projects forward at the same time since this new discovery, one in Brazil, one in Chile? And do you think this is a competitive advantage over your peers?
Definitely, no. I think, look, I am not 100% of what I'm about to say right now, but I think we're the only ionic clay company that has two projects in two different countries. And look, at this point, the biggest risk that we face and the bottleneck to putting these projects into production is permitting, no, and that sort of political risk. So to have a project in Chile and a project in Brazil allows us, to have optionality, to make the two projects compete with each other for capital, no, and see which one can get the permits earlier. No, I think having this advantage provides us with enormous flexibility and really divides our political risk in two. No, so I think that it means a lot for Aclara to have assets in both Chile and Brazil.
Definitely. So when it comes to the market for heavy rare earths, as we move into 2024, what's your outlook?
I think that the rare earths are we're going to be facing an even tighter market. Right now, as you know, really by far the market leader is China, no, and they have sort of a monopoly, especially in the case of the heavy rare earths. No, in the case of the lighter rare earths, there are alternatives. As you know, there's Lynas in Australia, there's MP Materials producing rare earths in the US, but the heavy rare earths are very highly concentrated in China. With demand of electric vehicles and wind turbines primarily significantly increasing in the coming months, we're going to be seeing a lot of pressure in the market. That pressure is being reflected in the calls that we're receiving from different OEMs interested in figuring out, their supply chains. What they're looking for is they're looking for environmentally clean products. They're looking for competitive costs. And of course, they want competent partners. No, they're viewing this not as a commercial transaction, but as a long-term partnership. That's also what we're pursuing. We're in no hurry really to sign commercial agreements. Our projects still have some time to go before we're in production and we need to sell any product. But what I can tell you is that we're feeling firsthand, directly, by the amount of calls that we're receiving with parties interested in heavy rare earths. So bottom line, yes, the market is going to tighten up quite substantially in 2024 and going on as well.
Awesome. Well, let's hope for some strength in the capital markets as well in terms of share price and all of that. So finally, Ramon, where's the best place for investors to take a look at the company? Where should they go for more information?
Sure. Look, there are a few sources. No, I think our webpage is quite sophisticated. It has a lot of information. We just put up all the information regarding the piloting that we have completed. There are some very cool videos there. Please take a look at that. Do register on the website because we very frequently send email blasts, email updates to our subscribers. And I think that, I think we do a great job. And if you're curious about what we do locally with our stakeholders locally, there's like the Instagram page, it's called Somos Aclara. Take a look at that. There's a lot of information about how we relate to our local communities. I think you will appreciate that. And finally, of course, look at the videos, Aaron, that that you and I are producing together with these interviews. Look us up in YouTube. There are a few interviews up already. I think we're doing a great job in communicating our story to the market.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much, Ramon, for all that information. Best of luck with your projects and your new discovery. I look forward to having you back on.
Thank you, Aaron. It's a pleasure as always.
If you like these videos, kindly hit that subscribe button and the bell for notifications. Drop us a comment down below. We'd love to hear from you. And finally, always remember, Departures Capital is for information, education, and entertainment purposes only. Don't buy or sell stock because you heard it on here. Buy or sell stock because you've done your research, you've done your thorough due diligence, and you're making your own personal investment decisions for yourself. This video is not financial advice. Furthermore, this video may or may not have been sponsored by the companies that we've profiled within this video, and we may or may not own shares of any of the profiled companies in this video. If you want to know the full disclosure details, check the description down below along with thoroughly reading our disclaimer. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I look forward to seeing you in our next video.